StudentPreneur, the podcast about students who are entrepreneurs. Get motivated and keep your energy high. Stories from studentpreneurs.
This episode is sponsored by ID Network, a network of university associations run by studentpreneurs for studentpreneurs. Visit idnetwork.com.au. Welcome to episode 13. My name is Julian Marchand, entrepreneur turned PhD student. Each week, I bring you the best of those individuals who are students and entrepreneurs. I call them StudentPreneur. This week, our StudentPreneur is Owen Yang. All right, so today we have Owen with us, and Owen just finished his Bachelor of Commerce of Finance and Economics at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, in Australia, and he was doing a co-op scholarship. He'll tell us more about it. Owen is currently 22, and his business is turning over 6 figures, closing on 7, as I've just heard. Is that right, Owen? Do you want to tell us a bit more about your business?
Yeah, so basically, my current major business I'm running is called ATY Advisory. So what we do is we help companies claim the research and development tax incentive. We started in about July of 2013, so this was while I was still at university. And it took us 6 months to even get our first client, another 6 months to get 20. And now within a year after that, we're closing in on 100 clients. And
in 1 year, that's not bad.
Yeah, so a lot of hard work 1 year, a lot of hard work hustling for clients. But we're growing quite rapidly. And we're getting to a stage now where we're needing more staff. We moved offices twice. And I think we're just getting to a period now where we've even got offers to sell from other companies.
Hey, it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, so yes, it's been good. Hard work's been paying off.
And how did you get there? What did you do before in high school or anything? Any activities that you did that brought you on a path of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so pretty much throughout most of high school, I think even probably right up until year 12, I was fairly geared towards studying medicine. So, at that time,
because of your parents or?
Partially parents and partially because really, I think when you grow up in Adelaide, there's 90% of first preferences of high achieving students would be medicine.
Oh, wow.
Because in Adelaide, medicine is just undoubtedly, from an all-round career perspective and study perspective, probably one of the best degrees in terms of, you're 100%, it's the only degree that's 100% guaranteed a job. And if you don't drop out, you're pretty much guaranteed a 200, 300K salary by the time you're 28 or whatnot. And so, it's pretty much the go-to study path, really. And we still need a lot of doctors in Australia. Yeah, and the doctors are still needed. And, I never really wanted to do medicine. It was more, it made financial sense. And I knew I did not enjoy it.
You already knew.
Well, yeah, I knew it wouldn't be too bad. But that was, up until year 12. And it was sort of a default sort of path that most people sort of tend to take in Adelaide, unless, you already know for sure you don't want to do medicine. As I kind of say, because there are a lot of parents, my mom's friends, ask me what to do in Adelaide. It's kind of like medicine or unemployment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To some extent.
So what happened? What was...
So basically to get into medicine, you need to undertake what's called the UMAT exam. And what I did was, so the UMAT exam costs $600. The study course costs about $600 to $1,000 to go to. And sometimes it's just a weekend course, which is absolutely ridiculous pricing.
It sounds like, just give me your money.
Yeah. And I thought, well, there's a room to undercut here, right? And at that point, I was thinking, okay, well, I don't have the skills and expertise, but I can hitchhike off someone else's skills and expertise. So, I knew a lot of people from actual med school, and what happens is they did well at the UMAT exam. They got, top 1 percentile, top 2 percentile, so forth. So, well, I don't need the expertise, but all I need to do is hitchhike off their expertise.
That's right.
I paid them $50 an hour to come teach and offered, a much nicer package to students. So it'd be a weekend course. The next cheapest competitor charged $600. I charged $300.
Of course they'll go to you.
Yeah. Well, and no one had heard of me, but it's fine. Through my careers advisor at school, she messaged all of her friend careers advisors. And at that point, we offered a deal that was, if you failed the exam, we'd give you your money back.
Oh, yeah, that's a very sweet, that's good. Yep.
So first ever, crack at, starting a business. I think within 2 months we made $4,500.
Sorry, I thought the point was for you to reimburse your cost of doing the test.
Yeah, that too. But so I studied the UMAT through running the course, really.
Yeah.
And I even ran my own little seminar on it because I thought it was pretty fun.
So then you realized you made money.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is so much more fun. This is exciting. Yes. This is the calling. But at that time as well, see, medicine was one of my picks. The other pick was wanting investment banking.
Yes.
And again, I thought it was really cool, traveling, going to
Hong Kong,
doing
Singapore,
deals,
yeah.
The high pressure, high intensity environment. That's what I thought would be really exciting. That and, at that time, I was fairly pragmatic in high school, where, careers advisors would be like, pick the degree that you enjoy, pick what you love, that sort of thing. Well, at high school, I knew very well that I had no idea what I wanted to do. And that any understanding of any particular career path, be it law, commerce, engineering, would only be a very rudimentary understanding and only be the glorified views of whatever TV showed you.
Yep.
And then, so I was quite pragmatic. I was thinking, well, there's 4 possibilities. You have a job you enjoy and makes a lot of money. You have a job you enjoy, it doesn't make a lot of money. You have a job you don't enjoy and makes a lot of money. And you have a job that you don't enjoy and doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, I think the last one and option 2 are the most common one. The one where you don't make money.
Yeah, so I was very intent on eliminating that possibility. So really the only thing left that definitely eliminates those possibilities was investment banking and medicine. So at the very least, I can't not enjoy and not make a lot.
At least you're honest about your decision process.
Yeah, so I knew I didn't know for sure because I know so many people who would say, I love this, I find this fascinating. Go to uni and realize the real world is completely different to, Boston legal.
What university is different from the real world?
As in, the real world is quite different to, say what you think or what you see on TV or what you actually think a career actually does. So I just knew that I didn't know, and so I picked the one with the most options as well. So at the end, it came down to medicine or doing what's called the co-op program at USNW.
Oh, yeah. So that's scholarship, right?
Yeah. So that paid for my studies in Sydney. And I got internships at some of the biggest investment banks.
Okay.
I ended up working, it was Goldman Sachs, Citibank, and Deutsche Bank, various departments of the bank.
If you want to be an investment banker, that's a pretty good start.
Yeah. I seem to like my unfair advantages, but that was very much
You applied for the scholarship, like a lot of people could apply too, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that was really the leg up in the finance path. The real problem then was, after doing one internship, it was like, well, guess banking was not what I expected.
Thank you, USNW.
Oh, it's valuable. I think it's just as valuable knowing what you don't want to do as knowing what you do want to do. Or probably worse, thinking you want to do something, going knee deep in it and then realizing, oh crap, it's not what I want to do at all.
Hey, at least you got the experience in your first year of uni, You could have been on your third or after uni.
Yeah, or locked in. So after that point, it was like, I think I really need to start a business now, and seriously as well.
Well, because you had no other options really. Like medicine was no longer an option, and then investment banking, you realize that's not what you wanted, and that's the 2 you had.
Yeah, exactly. So, where my expertise was mainly still in tutoring. That's what I started doing and focusing more time on. So I focused on 2 businesses at that point. One was, so that was probably the most busy time. So I had an internship at Goldman. And after that was done, I was thinking, oh crap, my current career, my uni path was meant to be 3 years of study and then 1 year of an honors year.
Okay, like the perfect student, yes, of course.
Yeah, and the thing is, the scholarship program was pretty smart. They made it so that currently your internship placement count as subjects.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah, but if you drop out before honors, because a lot of people drop out and not do honors,
yeah, of course,
your subjects no longer count.
Ah, all right. So that's a carrot and a stick, all right.
Yeah, but I was like, I'm going to beat that system. So I started overloading from the start of year 2.
Your courses, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I started overloading, doing extra courses to preempt that possibility. So essentially, even if I did want to drop out, run my own thing and not study honors, which I'm very happy with right now.
Yeah,
it was to overload and do more subjects than I needed to, so that I wouldn't have to stay an extra year.
Yeah.
So the first, the major business I then started was called UMAT, and now with the UMAT courses, most people run weekend courses.
Yeah.
We instead ran 8-week courses so that you get exposure over time.
Ah, yes.
So you come back week after week, you have homework, you have 8 weeks spread out of content.
Online or face-to-face?
Face-to-face.
Still face-to-face. So all the people in Sydney or UNSW? Or?
So that we did it in Adelaide, Newcastle, Sydney, Melbourne, and I think Brisbane. Well, the Brisbane didn't really take off.
And this is year 12 and
year 12 and year 11.
And year 11s, okay, yeah.
Now, so what we realized, right, from a cost perspective, so these other courses, what they did was they had a weekend course where they would have 8 hours a day for the weekend. So, essentially 16 hours worth, right?
Yeah.
We ended up doing about probably 20, 24 hours worth of face-to-face. And that was spread out across 8 weeks. And we felt that actually had, more student exposure because they thought about it day in, day out. They could ask more and more questions.
Yeah.
As opposed to a spam high and buy.
Well, because there's so much you can retain in one day.
Exactly. And also, yeah, exactly. So,
but how was it cost effective for you? Because you had to bring your staff 8 times.
We could charge more. And then on a total hour basis, it was actually not that much more hours. It wasn't 8 times hours. So it's actually quite a smart idea, actually. If you ever have a 6-hour course, you're actually better off spreading into a 3-week course of 2 hours each.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it becomes a 3-week course instead of a one day seminar. Anyhow. And you just split up the content.
So you were doing this at the same time as overloading your
uni.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I had to do quite a few all-nighters, but that was actually one of my best semesters at uni.
You're kidding me. So you were doing the 5 courses, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was literally eat, sleep, uni, entrepreneurship for a good 6 months.
Hey, nothing wrong about that. But so that helps you focus on your courses and your business at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So like with my courses, I did 2 fairly hard courses that semester as well. So you have electives, and because at that time I was still fairly hedged. I wanted to be, geared, because at that point I was thinking, okay, I want to do management consulting now, not investment banking. The typical switch.
Yep.
And at that time I was like, okay, well, I still need high grades. I still need good subjects. So my elective was higher chemistry and coding.
Sorry?
as my electives. When most people choose, introduction to psychology, or multiple choice, I actually picked some hard subjects. But it made me more efficient.
Okay, but what did you pick? Were you interested in the topics, or it was just because those top 6 were available?
Chemistry, I knew that I had an advantage in because I was tutoring chemistry the whole time.
Okay.
So it looked impressive, but for me, it wouldn't be that much harder. And coding, I actually really wanted to learn. So that was in VBA, Excel.
And did you learn? Did you feel like you learned?
Yeah, I love that. It was. Yeah, I even started applying some of the macros to make my business more efficient.
Cool. So that was useful then.
Yeah, that was quite good.
And then did you find a co-founder on the way?
Yes. So with UMate, I was actually introduced to one of my old family friends back in Adelaide. And he was meeting these 2 other fairly impressive entrepreneurs, one of whom I'm still working with in ATY advisory at the moment. So at first we had 4 co-founders and all of us had various roles within
4.
4.
Wow, that's hard to manage.
Yeah, it was quite a lot. And again, I wouldn't recommend 4.
Yes.
I think 2 to 3 is probably the best number.
2 to 3, yeah, I agree.
And ideally somewhat different to yourself.
Yeah. Were the 4 were different skill sets? Were they all teachers or tutors for your program, or? So
we all had various degrees of tutoring ability. So I got into medicine, didn't go, and the other two co-founders were medical students, and our last co-founder was the real salesman of the business.
Okay, so you're the sales guy. That's good.
Yeah, he could talk his way through anything.
He was the one bringing the customer. That's really, really important.
Yeah. So yeah, we did some innovative marketing strategies there. We offered a lot of scholarship programs to high schools. We did a lot of letters, did a lot of cold calling. At that point, made a very stupid mistake on website building. If anyone charges you $2,000 to build a static web page, do not pick them. Especially, we had a designer who didn't know the difference between a gigabyte and a megabyte.
Okay, that's a worry.
There we go. That's experience for you. The next static website I used was built on Wix and cost me $10 a month. So.
Oh, wow. And how did you do the switch from UMate to ATY Advisory?
Yeah, so UMate, what we learned at the end was we made $60K revenue in our first run.
First run, like the first run of courses, you mean?
Yeah, first run of courses. We made quite a bit of money.
In 1 year?
Yeah, in the first year. But the thing is, split between 4 people is $15K each.
Yeah.
It's okay.
People will be happy in their first year to be positive.
Yeah, exactly. But, being the impatient young one, being the impatient entrepreneur, like,
I want it now.
I wanted more money for less work.
I want the Porsche now. Yes.
I was making trips up to Newcastle. It was hard work. I learned a lot though, but it was fairly hard work. So the next business, I worked on was called Australian IB Tuition. And because I did the International Baccalaureate and I knew there was a demand for that particular type of tutor, it was a high margin business. So around Australia, we'd hire tutors, we had an interface, and we'd have a match a tutor with a student and take a cut off every lesson.
So basically leveraging from the framework you've built for UMate and applying to another degree, right?
But it's one-to-one. UMate was one to about 10.
One-to-one. Okay, that's
this
a
was
different...
one-to-one.
Okay.
But it was more fire and forget. You need to worry about rent. You need to worry about coordinating people, students, things like that. We just set up lesson 1. And then the rest, we just take a cut off every lesson.
So no capital incentive, just...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, just finding people.
Yeah, so when you have no money, run a services business.
When you have no capital money, yep.
I'm actually serious, because services business, worst case scenario, you do it yourself and there's no cost.
Correct. Well, your time is a cost, but you're not negative, yeah.
Yeah, and really part of the advantage was also that I could charge more for my own tutoring. So rather than being on 35 an hour, I'd have the marketing and the publicity and the track record. You had to go up to 75 an hour. Yeah,
because you had the community of tutors around you and everyone goes to that community. And
No. It was even just, I think, when you look on Google, and if you Google chemistry tutor IB or something, we come up first.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure if that's still the case, but...
And did you work on your SEO or it was just luck?
No, it was just luck.
It's funny how luck is harder to get now.
Yeah, I know. The game's been given away. Because before, all the best and brightest went to medicine and law and so forth. I think more and more people are hopping down now to entrepreneurship.
That's right.
Which is good. I think it's good.
So when you were running the ATY advisory, was it the same amount of co-founders or did you lose any?
Three. And it was quite different. So we had the salesman, we had myself, and we had a guy who used to do the R&D tax incentive for about 4 years at KPMG. So he was the expertise.
So he wasn't a student?
No. Only I was the student at that point.
Okay.
So I was 22 and my other co-founders were 28 and 26 respectively.
Okay, all right.
25
cool.
and 28. I was 21 at the time. Yeah. No, I was actually 20 at the time, I think. Okay. It was July of 2013. Yeah, I think I was 20 at the time. Anyhow. So this was at uni, and this was after I'd done one more stint at Citibank, and I wanted to slip my wrists. How painful that was.
But at least the positive is you found someone.
Yeah, exactly. So at that time, I think, I was doing, and after that, while I was doing an internship at Deutsche Bank. And, all the while doing these startups, I got a job at BCG as well, which I managed to postpone.
You managed to postpone that? Okay. A few people will kill for a job there.
Yeah, I know. It's,
all right. Yeah. And so you're about to launch a new business now. Can you talk about it?
Yeah. So the new business is called Activ Pass. And the main inspiration, we actually thought of this idea organically, and then we looked it up. And there's nothing like it in Australia yet.
Okay.
And a company did this in the US called ClassPass. And I think they became a $0 to $400 million company in the space of 2 years.
Okay. I want in.
Yeah. So really, it actually follows upon this new concept. You've heard of Rocket Internet?
Sorry?
Have you heard of Rocket Internet?
No, I haven't.
So there are 3 Germans, otherwise known as the Clone Factory. So what they do is they find businesses that are doing well in one part of the world and then imitate it in another part of the world immediately before that other business has time to expand. So they did the German equivalent of eBay. They do equivalent in other countries.
Okay, wow. So before the main business do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then sell it to the main business.
So they set up the business and then they sell it to the big one.
To the main business, yeah, and they just do it in a different part of the world. Quite genius, actually.
You have to be quick, though.
Yeah, well, they are. That's the thing. Yeah. And what you do, and what they do is because the concept's been proven, right?
That's right.
And you already know how they did it because a lot of the times they get publicity for it. Yeah. And you can go on their website, you can scrutinize how they operate. And if it ain't broke, why fix it? You just copy their model pretty much. and launched in another
I
country.
thought there was copyright and trademark that protect you from all this.
No, but it's not IP. That's the thing.
Exactly.
They're copying, like a concept. It's like a bakery, right? You can't really, or like you can't copy, a concept, or you can copy a concept and process. Obviously, you can't use the same name, the same code, or the exact same product.
Do the three Germans have a name?
Oh, no one knows their name. We just know the clone factory. But
so just a clone factory.
If you look up Rocket Internet,
okay,
it's three Germans. Can't remember their name, but they're known as the clone factory, and they're fairly interesting. I believe it's a good shortcut idea. It's like if you don't know what to start up, look up something that's doing well in another country and try to imitate it here. Yeah.
And it's so easy to get information nowadays about what's happening in other countries.
I know. It's just going through Google, looking up startup media, seeing what's doing well in the US that you can potentially imitate here and do that. And well, the thing is, I think a lot of people are actually catching on to that fact because about 6 months ago, there was nothing in this sphere pretty much. And now there's about 8 companies vying to try and secure a foothold in this fit tech industry in Australia.
Wow.
But we believe it's a sales game, and that's our strength at this stage.
Oh, Rocket Internet is an incubator.
Yeah.
Oh, so they help. So they get people in, they give them the ideas. Oh, no, this is brilliant.
Oh, no, what normally happens is they offer about 4% equity to a founder and a lot of cash, and they run a lot of copycat companies simultaneously around the world.
Wow. And they want to do an IPO soon for $6 billion. Jeez, I mean, the business has been going very well.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They are worth a lot.
So they have a few Amazon clones. That makes sense. Wow. Okay, fantastic.
They've got a bit of everything.
Yeah, okay.
I actually use one of their products called HelloFresh. It's pretty interesting. So
okay, so you're getting into Activ Pass.
Yeah. So currently we actually started in March and we already have about 80 gyms on board as of May and we're ready to launch this month.
Wow. So is that the same 3 co-founders as ATY Advisory?
Yeah, and we actually have 2 more. So because of the speed at which we needed to get this up and running, we've actually opted for 5 co-founders.
Wow.
Because part of us 3 were simultaneously running ATY Advisory at the same time. So with another full-time business, we needed the manpower.
Yes. You don't want someone else to clone you, right?
Oh, I think everyone's racing for this space at the moment. And
wow.
It's all about speed and execution.
So do you think you had an advantage because you guys been working together before and you had experience in working together? It doesn't sound like the touring business was similar to Activ Pass. But you...
No.
You're used to working together.
Yeah. I think when you can really quickly get to the point and turn ideas into plans, into execution very, very quickly, it's fairly valuable.
Wow. And you can rely on them, right?
Yeah. By working with people who you work well with, you synergize with. So there's less arguing and we get to the execution fairly quickly.
Wow. And you had to shut down ATY Advisory to start this one, or you're running both at the same time?
No, we're running both at the same time. We have 2 employees. We have 2 full-time employees for ATY. We're about to bring on another person.
Yeah.
And they're quite amazing, actually.
Cool. So basically, for ATY Advisory, you developed the business and now it can be run by full-time people. You can focus on something else. Is that what you're doing?
So I still need to spend time on it because it is a services business and I do need to look through the work. But my role is gradually diminishing.
Yep.
So I've gone from needing to work 7 days a week on it to only needing to work potentially 3 days on it.
Sorry, you said 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Just a reality check there. Yeah. Okay, so that's exciting. You're on the verge of like a new business and you're writing the other one. So there's less risk as well. It's still a service business, so
yeah,
you don't have that much financial risk.
I suppose the other thing is the government's actually recently made it better. By lowering the company tax rate by 1.5%, it actually made the incentive work more.
Yes, that's true.
So thanks to that, the business grew by 10% overnight.
Thank you, Abbott.
Yeah. Although actually, Bill might be lowering it by 5%.
Yes, you have both sides going for you now.
Yeah. So that might be another 20% growth for doing nothing.
Yeah, just a quick update for people not from Australia. We just had our current government reducing the tax rate on small businesses from, 30 to 28.5. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yes?
Yeah, and from R&D, so just for those of you who don't know about R&D, tax incentive, essentially what it does is for startups, it halves your development costs if you're doing something innovative. So if you develop a new app that costs 20,000, you could get 9,000 back in cash at the end of the financial year.
That's interesting because you put it as R&D.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much what we do. We get startups money. And the beauty of it is, from a sales perspective, it's one of the few businesses you can sell on contingency.
What do you mean?
So we don't get paid until they get paid.
Ah, yes. So it's very attractive.
It's good on the sales side. It's bad on the liquidity side, at least at the start.
Oh, you can, cash flow isn't okay?
Yeah. At the start, because
the sales cycle, the sales cycle kills you.
From engagement to payday takes quite a long time.
How long would you say? 10 months? 6 months?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to wait until the end of financial year?
Yeah, until they get their refund back.
So you can't claim it earlier than the end of the financial year.
No, you can't claim it earlier than the financial year. Yeah, but the beauty of it is, from a sales perspective and growth perspective, it's very good. So I just think of it as an investment.
And so do you think startups can apply themselves, or do they need to go through a company like you?
So the difference is, through a company, we help. Because the Aussie industry have a lot of red flags, and with the ATO, there's a lot of flags as to what can be claimed, what can't be claimed. And if you make mistakes in the claim, you can get audited down the track, and as a result, lose a lot of the benefits you had, potentially plus penalties. So there are a lot of intricacies that companies do get wrong that they can get tripped up with down the track. So theoretically, you can do it by yourself, but the service we offer is we maximize the claim you can claim, and then we make sure to get rid of things that the ATO doesn't like to see claimed.
But that's good because you're saying, because I would never have thought that developing an app, because every business now have an app. You say even developing an app, if it's innovative.
If it's an innovative app. So
how do you define innovative?
Yeah. So basically, if you trial some, fairly advanced technologies, fairly new technologies, if it does something that other apps can't do, or something that's not currently publicly available, so the things that they look at is, one of the key criteria can be publicly available information. So if you can do it just via Google searching, and if it's quite easy to do via a template, it's hard to claim. But where you've had to do customized development, where you've had to do, look at new technologies, where you've had to do a lot of experimentation to get that app up and running.
That's quite easy to qualify for this, because we're always looking for something different. And
yeah, so a lot of apps do qualify. And really, because the government really wants to support this side of the economy, they really want to support small business.
Yes.
Because big businesses, they're already going, right? And small businesses, I think it's like 80% of the economy, like you said, right? And they really want this side to start creating jobs.
Yes.
Because in the long run, it's our small businesses that create employment.
Yeah, and create the economy, basically.
Yeah,
exactly.
Run the
economy.
So that's what they want. They want more startups.
Meanwhile, Google pays 0% taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So they want more startups, and they want to lower youth unemployment, essentially, as a huge target, right?
So just a question, very selfish. I work for a student association at the moment, and we're developing a new app.
Does it work? A company?
Well, that's the question. No, it's an association.
No, you have to be a PTY Ltd company.
Okay, so you have to be a
company that currently pays company tax.
So no partnership, no sole trader. You have to be a PTY. Well, I mean, that's a good incentive to become a PTY.
It costs about $480. You just go on easycompanies.com.au, I think.
That's it, $480?
And you can get one set up in 10 minutes, and voila, you're a company.
What was the website? Sorry.
Easycompanies. There could be more, but you just type register my company online. That's the one I found that was quite easy to use.
Yeah, because it used to be $5,000 because you had to get a lawyer to set up your little thing.
I think if you're paying $5,000, you're getting ripped off. But
I'm telling you, 10 years ago, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually. Because if you get it done through an accountant, they charge you $700. And if you do it through ASIC itself, it's a little bit cheaper, but you gotta wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So if you just do it through like an online,
that's beautiful. Okay, and if we want to hire you, where do we go?
So ATY, A for Apple, T for Tom, Y for Yellow, advisory.com.au.
I'll put it on the show notes because that's very, very useful. I mean, every time you build an app, you do something innovative.
A web platform. And if you do the development in Australia as well.
Okay, development in Australia.
Yeah, so if you hire an overseas team, you can't claim, unfortunately.
No, but that's fine. I think I'm over
and the other
hiring people overseas.
You can pay yourself a wage, and that can count as well. So imagine you're the sole developer, right?
Yeah.
And you put in 20, 30K of share capital and you pay yourself 30K. You can claim that 30K as well if you yourself are the developer.
Wow.
Yeah, so really, that's something a lot of startups don't know about, in the sense that they just think it's only expenses they pay.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's is that a tax offset or is that a credit that you get back?
No, it's hard cash.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's why it's called a refundable tax offset.
Yeah, because for startups, that's what matters, because sometimes the write-off doesn't really matter because you don't make enough.
If you're not making any money, well, why do you care about the tax credit?
Yeah, that's right.
This cashes out the tax credit. So if you're making no money, you actually get it in cash.
Wow.
And I suppose the other thing to keep in mind is you have to spend a minimum of 20 grand.
Yeah, well, that's easy, man.
Yeah. So
20 grand.
So if you're on 18 grand, pay yourself a small wage of 2 grand to push yourself over the line.
Yeah.
But essentially
beautiful.
you need a minimum of 20K, but it can include a salary. It can include things like rent, overhead costs, development costs, just not overseas costs.
I'm building an app on membership and inscription and events and for all students, right? And we're working on a 50 grand quote so far. So, and that's just keeping it basic. So, apps can be very expensive.
Are you getting a company to develop it?
Yes, so we're running it.
Make sure you try to own the IP as well. So
read
the contract carefully.
This is part of the tender. It's like we own the IP because
So read it carefully as well, so that to make sure you own the output.
Yeah. When you talk about it, they all say yes, but then it's when you start reading the contract.
Yeah, like make sure it doesn't say unlimited license.
Yes.
Unlimited use license, or they still own the source code or something like that. Try and own everything.
Yes, learn.
Which is another prerequisite of
even
R&D.
if you're not going to use the code, because it's really hard to use a code with another provider, but you don't want them to be using it.
And it's also from an R&D perspective. If you don't own what's developed and you're just purchasing it, you can't claim R&D. So you got to own the R&D.
Jeez, Owen, you're making me money right here. I have to own. That makes sense. I mean, you have to own the IP because it's
because otherwise what happens, you're not getting double claims. So you claim it, and then the IT company that develops it also claims it.
Yes.
So to make it so only one person claims, you want it to be the person that really owns the benefit and the output of the R&D.
Yeah.
So for the most part, say, if you just own the IP, but they own the source code, they own the knowledge, they can reproduce it, then a lot can be argued that they claim it, not you, because they do the R&D. You want to own everything, pretty much.
Pretty much, okay.
Yeah. And to a great extent.
And it's okay because when you know that becomes part of a negotiation chip. Like you can
you have to know that.
you can pay them a little bit more because you're going to get much money back if you own it.
The funny part is, I have clients who are IT developers, and I have clients who are startups. And it's like I have to advise both on separate occasions. So to fight for both sides.
Both sides needs to own the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't really share, can you?
No, you can't both claim.
No, so it's
the same thing.
One or the other.
So
no, that's really good to know, and because that's usually a gray area, and because startups, we just don't want to bother about tax stuff. Like we just don't.
Yeah, exactly. And because of this, because the R&D tax incentive, like I said, one of the things we can do is charge on contingency. So we say to companies, you pay us off your refund. So it makes even cold calling possible because
of course
people don't think you're a scam if you don't charge upfront fees. Otherwise, cold calling is a nightmare.
Yes. No, that sounds very good. Yeah, no, I understand why your business is going well, because it's just a question of raising awareness to the new entrepreneurs and the new developers, really.
Yeah. We have a fair range. We have some startups. We also work with some giant companies. So including these 30 million, 100 million turnover food manufacturers who do various different things. But I think we've had to do a lot of different fairly diverse fields, including fitness equipment.
Of course.
Skin. I think anti-aging cream now as well.
Okay. Whatever can be innovative.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
All right, so this is exciting. I've got lots of work to do now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's just. it's really good for especially the small businesses that just started. They have no money. They want to do something, and they're just limited by how much they have to spend on development. And now it's
exactly. And if you can get half your costs back, and if you paid yourself a wage to research, do the design work, to develop the algorithms and the processes, and you pay yourself a wage, well, you get the money from the wage and you get a benefit from the tax office
Yeah.
for that wage as well.
No, but this is the best way to improve innovation and to motivate new people to get started.
Yeah, exactly. And then, just make sure that while you're doing the development, to keep all your notes, to keep the substantiation, your email trails, things like that. So if anyone asks, did you really do the development? You have, a whole folder full of notes that you've taken, things like that.
Yeah.
To substantiate the work that you've done.
Which could be basically all the memos that you send to your development team saying, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Yeah, exactly. Any of the research you've done, any of the technologies you looked into, things like that.
Okay, so be very good at documenting everything you do.
Yeah. And if possible, you want to document, how much time you've been spending.
Oh my God.
If you've done both. But an easy way to do that is, you look at, just at the end of each week or something, just write down, because if you've worked on it for 3 days, you just document in your diary at the end of each week. It seems like a lot of work, but if you just do it really briefly at the end of each week, it's not it's like,
it's all about
5 minutes a week, potentially 30, 40 grand.
Yeah, exactly. If you know the outcome, you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. All right, let's get back on track.
Yeah.
So in terms of, you said you worked, you overloaded on subject and then you were working on your business. How did you manage both? And you did say you were actually doing well in your studies, but
I think one of the benefits, I can't speak for other degrees, but commerce in particular it's a fairly easy course.
Yes.
Because it's fairly common sense based. There's no complicated maths, and it's just you go through the lecture slides, you do a few questions, and bam. Now, obviously, lectures do put things out of the square questions, right? But if they do an out of the square question, everyone gets those wrong. And if everyone gets the question wrong, it gets scaled up. So you got to sort of play the mind of the uni and the lecturer, because they have a 65% average they want to maintain. If it's too hard, they have to scale you up. If it's too easy, you get scaled down, but not by much, right? And you just sort of know that for USNW, for instance, there's a minimum. If you go to any of the lectures, I think it's about 70% international students, and they need to pass. So you have an advantage just by speaking the language. And by studying just a minimum amount of time, you sort of know what questions everyone's going to fail and what sort of topics people are going to fail. And you focus your study on the core question that are definitely going to show up. You can start to predict after a while and, find some past papers, get to know, people in the year above you. It's actually what I really recommend. Get to know the people in the year above you so you know which subjects are hard and which subjects are easy, which lectures to pick and which lectures to avoid.
Yes.
We had lecturers at USNW who we call, WAM killers, or weighted average mark killers. And, so I was looking it up beforehand. Is he teaching this course? No, I'm going to skip it. So there's one course, for instance, where in this one semester, they switched lecturers. So the really tough lecturer no longer took it. So in a course where everyone gets 70% because of that really tough lecturer, right? I got 93 because it was a new lecturer that semester.
Yeah.
And then when I was picking between two different courses, I looked at the lecturer. So this guy, didn't have a bad reputation. This guy had a reputation for, doing really bad exams. I picked the other subject, right?
It's funny because you've been managing your curriculum as an entrepreneur, looking at the opportunity, the gap in the market.
And you sort of guess, like there's certain questions that certain topics that if they get assessed, everyone loses. So don't focus your time on those topics. Focus your time so that you know just enough to be better than everyone else. And the other thing is know what you're aiming for. If you're aiming for 100%, well, God help you. But I was aiming for anywhere between 80 plus, pretty much. Ideally 85, 80 plus. And you sort of know how much it takes to get to that particular percentage.
And also setting up your own expectations.
And the other thing is you ask yourself 3 questions at the start of each subject. Is it interesting? Is it useful? Is it hard? Right?
Is it hard? Yes. Is it important?
But okay, the two most important questions is it interesting and is it useful? And a lot of the time the answer was no. Okay, yeah, it was kind of interesting, kind of not. Is it useful? No, I will never ever use this information again in my life, which was most of the subjects, right? And where that question is no, is it useful? You don't care about, long-term retention. You care about, which I'm sure most students would relate to anyway. Nobody cares about long-term retention, but it's all about getting a quick mark. But especially if it's not useful, you focus on, the most efficient way to learn it in the shortest period of time. Like it doesn't matter about, after the exam, you don't know anything. That doesn't matter if it's not useful information, right? And so, you focus on getting to know people in the year above. You sort of know what sort of tips and tricks you can use to beat that subject.
Yeah.
You try to get past papers. You find someone to give you past papers because a lot of lecturers are lazy and they repeat the questions. And don't go to lectures, go to 2 tutorials. Ideally, the tutorial before your tutorial so that you get the answers of the last tutorial to bring to your tutorial to get the participation marks.
That's awesome.
And I think, and make sure you get smart people to do group work.
Yes, that's everybody that know that one.
I had some painful stuff where I think this guy in my tutorial didn't know what a mean was, didn't know what a histogram was, and we were in a stats class. So
was it a beginner start at the stats at least?
No, it wasn't a beginner stats. That's the worry. But even if it was, this is uni, right?
No, I like what you're saying, and I'm about to become an academic. But you're right. You need to know where you're playing, and it's just finding the gaps in the market. Yeah. Who is teaching what have they done last year? I mean, it's work. It's work. But it pays off.
And but you sort of know. And the other thing I did was I left because there are subjects that you're good at and you're not good at. And where possible, before your job applications or internship applications, do your easy subjects first and save your hard subjects for after you've got the job.
That's right. So you've got the good marks at the beginning so you can get the good internships.
Yeah, exactly. Your grades should be a downward slope, but instead of making it a steady downward slope, make it flat and then drop. Make it more like a cliff.
But when nobody cares because it's at the end, then you've already
the job already, right?
You've already sent your resume through.
If it only says you need to get your degree, then you're set, right?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a very good. I mean, it's a very good advice for everyone.
To know what subject's hard is you got to know what lectures are hard, and you got to know people in the year above you to know what subjects are hard. Because there are some third-year subjects that you can take in year 1 because they don't have prerequisites that aren't difficult. And you just take that third-year subject while you're in year 1. You don't need to do it chronologically.
If it's an elective or something.
Yeah, because we had this subject at somebody called management.
Yeah, sounds good.
And then one of the smartest guys I knew got 70% in it when he got 90 in everything else.
Oh, okay.
But that course wasn't a prerequisite for anything else I needed. And it wasn't, so I left it to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Even the smart guy got 70. Just go.
I know. That's when you're worried, right?
Yes.
When the smart guy got 70.
I smell a business here, mark your lectures, mark your...
Exactly.
Because it's not illegal. It's different from, people writing your essays for you, but this is not illegal. That is just collecting information.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. Writing down.
And really, it's you sort of know which lectures are hard. You know what subjects are difficult to do well in. And you restructure your course to reflect that.
Yeah. It requires a lot of work at the beginning of the semester or even at the end of the previous semester, but then it pays off during the semester.
Yeah. And in terms of, what book I recommend as well is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. So he really talked about in that book, beating the game, not playing the game. And, it's sort of trying to find little ways of increasing your mark by not having to do any extra effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Or really increasing your mark and spending less effort.
Because it's so ridiculous. I mean, even for the people who wants to get a job in a big company, everyone's so scared about the grades, but the grades, they don't mean much.
Exactly.
Your tutor might have been sick on that day and not feeling good, and so it put you a lower mark, and it doesn't mean anything. But
yeah, exactly. And normally, I found because at the end of each exam, right, the reason why I've lost marks 90% of the time is not because I didn't study enough. It's because of a curveball, or it's like questions that I'm thinking, okay, or to have gotten that question right, I would have needed to study an extra 10 hours.
Yeah.
And is that worth the extra 1 or 2%? No, it's not.
All right, let's move on. Did you have a mentor at any point?
Yes, I did. Probably one of the guys who made me want to go into entrepreneurship and investment banking. Have you heard of the business called OneFlare?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so one of the directors of that business called Adam, he's one of my family friends.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so my parents and his parents were really good friends back in the day. And so we used to go to their place every now and again in Sydney. And so I had a lot of chats with them. And,
yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah, it's sort of the
ideas.
Enlightenment. He gave me a fairly grim view of the corporate world.
He warned you.
He warned me ahead of time. And really seeing the world for the way it is. Because when you go into corporate, because I know friends who've gone to impressive legal firms, and really because they rope you they rope you on a prestige, but in terms of the actual work there, some of it is you're 6 years into the job and you're still spell checking.
Yep.
you're doing hard hours, not getting paid as much as you thought, and the work you're doing is not like,
changing the world.
On TV. Exactly. And so...
No, it's good. Yeah, it's good that you got a warning.
And, from that perspective, when is the least risk time? The answer is as early as possible, right? Because while you're at uni, what's the worst case? Oh, you do badly in a few subjects. But then let's say you want that corporate job. The interviewer will ask, why did you do badly in this subject? And you say, I was running my own business. No interviewer is going to say, oh, no, that's not an excuse.
That's a good one. That's a good point. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I was telling my mom, it's like, because I got a little brother, and my mom's saying, what should he focus on? I'm saying, two things: entrepreneurship and try and get in a high level sport. Because at the end of the day, that differentiates you, not your grades.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if you got a low grade, but you have an excuse for it, like, I was playing state grade tennis or something, you have an excuse for it.
Yeah,
or I was
right.
running my own business.
Yeah, and if a company that think it's a good excuse, then you don't want to work for a company like that.
Yeah, exactly. If they're just numbers focused, I mean, it depends. Like, you sort of need to know what sort of business, what sort of career you want to go into as well. If it's the type of career that looks for, these 95% high achievers, then, that's a choice you need to make. But most firms, in most industries, they look for extracurriculars, right? And they look for what separates you, what differentiates you. And you can even, and I don't really see entrepreneurship necessarily, because the end game isn't getting a HD, right? The end game is getting the job you want. The HD is just the means to an end. And by starting your own business, I don't think it detracts from the means either.
No. I mean, the thing is, there are less and less companies that look at your grades now. I mean, like, it's, you need to be on Ds or HDs, but I think there's only 5 big companies in Australia where you have to show your resumes. That's your KPMG, your BCG. I mean, like, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like grades, I feel like, it's a minimum requisite. But I think the other thing is in uni, you get carried away a lot by, just having a lot of fun. Really just like, going traveling. Like, and I did have to make sacrifices in the sense I didn't go on exchange, and really.
You can't run a business on exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And there were a lot of months where you just sort of have to just lock yourself in a room and really just focus. And that's the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to accept, right? At the end of the day, that it's not a free lunch program. But that being said, that there's enough hours in the day. And how many nights a week do you really need to go out and get drunk?
All right. Owen, we're coming to the end. Do you need anything from the listeners? Like, for the new business, do you need people to come and check your website, your Facebook page? What do you need?
Oh, yeah. So my new business is Activ Pass.
Yes.
And we're actually doing a promotion now where people who comment on our post might get access to a 1-month free trial. So basically, you get an unlimited tour of Sydney's best gyms.
Oh, okay.
So our normal pass is $99 a month, and you get access to unlimited gym classes in Sydney and Melbourne. But essentially, one class will cost you about $20, $25. You do 4 classes, you make your money back, right?
I mean, that's really cheap if you can go any
exactly.
gym.
Unlimited classes, because we have about 60 gyms signed up in Sydney now. So we're very close to being able to do a full-scale launch. And
because you need the mass. Yeah, your product, you need the mass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that just means, when you're keen, you go to any gym. If you want to try boxing, if you want to try Pilates the next day, if you want to try, if you want to try different things at different gyms, you have that option.
That is really cool. And you can also use the equipment, I guess, right? It's not just the classes.
Yeah, so you can use the equipment.
Wow. And how's the other gyms reacting to this? I'm thinking
so most of them think they're keen.
Even Fitness First? Because
No, Fitness First, they're like pure, like we're not talking to pure gyms, we're mainly talking to boutique gyms. So not the conglomerates, mainly the boutiques.
Okay, that makes sense.
Where the classes are fairly customized and unique, and we find that that's probably more interesting.
Yeah, more valuable. Yeah.
Because, dumbbells, they're everywhere, right? What we want on our database is more of these interactive, more of these unique classes.
So you're thinking Zumba in small
Zumba
places.
Could be boxing, could be kickboxing class. It could be just a boot camp style class. A bit of everything.
Okay, and so how can people?
So we have So our website is www.activpass.com.au. Active without the E.
Without the E.
And our Facebook page is www.facebook.com/ActivPass. Again, without the E.
Without the E.
So ActivPass.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Each studentpreneur story is different, and what works for some people doesn't for others. However, I'd like to point out a few things in Owen's journey that are quite exciting. He saw an opportunity when he ran into the pain point of signing up for a special training for an entrance test. That's when he realized he could make money through services. He then also applied the concept of the 4-hour week to his university curriculum. It's about beating the game. Pick the easy subject first, get to know people from the previous year, go to 2 tutorials and not the lectures, and so on, so on, so on. Owen also explained very well how to use R&D money-back system in Australia for any innovative apps. That's one of his current businesses, where he hopes to reach a 7-figure turnover within 6 months. Finally, he highlights the importance of good co-founders, as they decided to start a new business just a few months ago called Activ Pass. Totally different from the previous one, but since they knew and trusted each other, they were able to start it quickly ahead of the competition. On another note, Owen runs another business called Going Street, where he lowers the cost of graduating by selling academic gowns for as little as $45 to $79, when rentals at most unis is at least $75. Visit goingstreet.com.au.